Night 3. The headache started on night 2, by the way. Now it's, something else. Thick, solid pressure behind my eyes, pulsing in time with my heartbeat, feels like. Less like a headache, more like my skull's trying to unmake itself from the inside. I was at my desk staring at an incident report until the letters bled together. When Nika's father shouldered his way into the station. His daughter, Nika, was a silent shadow behind him. Her small face far too serious. "Harper!" Heaving the cooler onto the break room table with a wet thud. 40 pounds of silver salmon for saving my girl. I stood, the motion sending a fresh, hot spike through my temples. This is too much. I was just doing my job. My objection died as Nika's voice, small but impossibly clear, cut through the station's low hum. "Auntie showed me where to wait," she said. "She said someone would come before the bad thing did." Then the studio went silent. One moment there was the familiar clutter of noise, Chief Morrison's low chuckle, the clack of Dale's keyboard, static hiss of the radio. The next, there was nothing. It was as if a glass bell had dropped over the entire room. Morrison was frozen, his coffee cup an inch from his lips. Dale's hand hovered over his mouse, his fingers poised but unmoving. The radio static did not just go quiet. The absence of it was a physical weight in the air. My gaze dropped to Nika. Her dark eyes were fixed on me, and they had a knowledge that had no business in the face of an 8-year-old girl. They were ancient and terrified. A full 3 seconds passed. The pressure in my head tightened. Then the world rushed back in, too loud, too fast. "Nika, honey, you know Auntie. She's everyone's friend. She's probably just praying for you is all." He took a sip of his coffee. "Right," Dale chimed in, his voice a notch too high. He clicked his mouse with an uneasy force. "Kid Auntie's got a sixth sense about these things, like a guardian angel." He laid a heavy hand on his daughter's head. "Do not go giving the officer your wild stories, Nook." But Nika did not look away from me. She didn't even blink. "Have you seen her since that night?" she asked. The silence returned, but this time it felt deliberate, a solid wall. "Hey!" I said, my voice sounding too loud. No one turned. I forced a chuckle. "Morrison? Dale?" I waved my hand in front of the chief's face. His eyes didn't flicker. He took another sip of coffee, staring right through me. My chuckle died in my throat. The truth, cold and absolute, settled in my gut. Nika was the only one who could see me. The throbbing in my skull intensified, a sudden vicious twist. "I see her all the time," I managed, my voice rough. "She helps with dispatch once in a while, Nika." "No." Her voice was flat, certain, a verdict. "Have you really looked at her? I mean, truly looked? Once you do, you'll know what I mean." He was already pulling her towards the door, his apologies trailing behind him. "Kids and their imagination, you know how it is. Thanks again for everything, Harper." The door clicked shut. Instantly, the station snapped back to life. The clatter of keyboards, the murmur of conversation, the rustle of paperwork. It was all there, but it was wrong. It was like watching a film where the audio was out of sync. A hollow performance. I was the only one who had missed their cue. I stood, rooted to the spot, staring at the dark plastic cooler, beaded with cold sweat. And a cold, solid thought formed in my mind, cutting through the pain. What does Auntie look like? I see her every day. I take my coffee when she tells me to. I nod at her updates over the radio. But I cannot, for the life of me, summon a single specific detail of her face. Not the curve of her smile, not the shape of her hands, not the way she moves through a room. It's all just a pleasant blur. I spend my lunch break in the basement archives. Down here, the world is reduced to the grit of dust on my fingertips and the dry whisper of turning pages. When my phone lights up with my wife's call, I watch the screen go dark. Everything else can wait. Everything else is just noise. The station's records go back to 1962, when the former SR program was established. Before that, it just scattered reports of the municipal buildings, library annex. I start with recent files, pull Auntie's employment records from 2020. There she is, photo ID clipped to a W-2. Same Auntie. Gray hair, pulled back, reading glasses on a beaded chain, warm smile. Date of birth, March 15th, 1960. Another form, employee health insurance enrollment. Same photo, maybe a few less wrinkles. Date of birth, March 15th, 1960. Pension paperwork. Date of birth, March 15th, 1960. Original hiring document. Photos slightly faded, but it's her. Same face, same smile. Date of birth, March 15th, 1960. I flip back and forth between the photos. The lighting is different, the background changes, but her face stays exactly the same age in every single image across 30 years. The headache is an ice pick now, driving into my frontal lobe with every heartbeat. I drive to the library and request historical records, search and rescue reports, anything from the region. The librarian, an elder named Margaret, peers at me over her glasses. That's quite a project. What are you hoping to find? I just need to understand the history, I say, my voice tight. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Again, I know it's her. I know I'm stressing her out. The thought's a distant thing, drowned out by the static in my head. I have days, maybe less. This takes precedence. Everything takes precedence. She brings me a photo album, community newsletters, newspaper clippings. 1956. Group photo of volunteers after a successful rescue. In the back row, partially obscured, Auntie. Same gray hair. Same glasses. 1968. Dedication ceremony for the new station. The crowd. Auntie. 1987. Wartime civil defense meeting. Photos grainy, black and white, but I can make out her silhouette in the second row. Margaret leans in to look, her pleasant librarian smile still in place. It doesn't waver as her eyes track Auntie's face across the decades. She doesn't startle or question, she simply nods, as if confirming a known fact. That's Auntie in all of them, isn't it? She murmurs. Funny how some folks just have that timeless quality. My mouth is dry. How old is she? Oh, you know elders. Margaret pats my shoulder, her touch making me flinch. It's rude to ask. Why do you want to know? She adds. Because it doesn't make sense. The words scream inside my skull because I want to hold these photos side by side, force you to see that the same woman is in a photo from 1952 and a report from last year, because everyone is blind when they look at her. Instead, I say, just curious. Margaret's smile doesn't reach her eyes. Curiosity's good, Ben, but some things out there, they don't want to be understood. They just want to be. She walks away before I can ask what that means. I make it home at 6 p.m. with a headache drilling so deep I'm seeing halos around every light source. Sarah's waiting in the kitchen, arms crossed, jaw set in the way that means we're about to have the same fight we've been having for 3 months. You missed dinner again. I was working. You're always working. She's crying now. Angry tears. When you're here, you're not here, Ben. You're somewhere else with her. With who? Denise, the secretary. Don't play stupid. Everyone at the station talks. Sarah, I'm not. Then where were you today? Dale saw you in the archives for 2 hours, said you looked like you were researching something intense. What were you researching, Ben? I don't have a good answer. Can't explain that I was looking up photos of a 70-something dispatch operator who apparently hasn't aged since World War II. Can't explain that an 8-year-old girl warned me about a woman who's hypnotized the goddamn town. I can't explain any of it without sounding insane. So I say nothing. Sarah's face crumples. Get out. Sarah, get out. Go stay with whoever you've been running to. I don't care anymore. She shoved my jacket at me, pushing me towards the door. I grab my keys off the hook and stumble into the cold without a plan. I sit in the truck in the driveway, engine running, heat blasting. The station has a bunk room, but Dale's probably there. I have no friends in this town, not really, just co-workers and acquaintances. I could drive to Fairbanks, get a hotel, clear my head. Instead, I put the truck in reverse, and that's when I see it. A warm golden light spills from the kitchen window. The silhouette of my wife moves past the sink, and then the sound hits me. It's not the quiet I left, but the vibrant noise of a family meal, the clatter of plates, my son's high-pitched story, my daughter's giggling interruption, and underneath it all, a man's easy, resonant laugh. My laugh. I kill the engine and I step out into the freezing air, drawn to the window like a ghost. I peer inside. There they are. Sarah, the kids, and me. They're gathered around the table. The man at the head of the table leans back in his chair, a wide, relaxed smile on his face. It's an expression I haven't worn in years. He says something, and Sarah laughs, her real, unforced laugh, and reaches out to squeeze his arm. I'm running before I know I've moved. Up the porch steps, through the door, which is unlocked. The sounds and smells of dinner, pot roast, my favorite, wash over me. I stand frozen on the hallway entrance, watching this perfect imitation of my life. Get out, I whisper. The words have no force. The man, the other me, turns his head, his eyes meet mine across the room, and he smiles, a slow, knowing smile. The room shifts. Suddenly, I'm the one sitting at the head of the table. The taste of the pot roast is in my mouth. My daughter tugs on my sleeve, and Sarah smiles at me from across the table. I try to stand to scream, but my body is a puppet. I feel my face form a warm, parental smile. I hear my own voice, but it's not mine, say, "This is perfect." My eyes dart to the dark glass of the patio door. In its reflection, I see it. Standing in the corner of the kitchen, watching. The walker. It wears my SAR coat, its face a smudged photograph. It tilts its head, and my reflection in the glass mimics the gesture. Sarah's smile becomes fixed, her gaze intensifying. "We're so glad you're finally here, Ben," she says, her voice syrupy and wrong. "Stay with us." I throw myself backward, the chair clattering to the floor. I scramble on hands and knees towards the front door as their voices rise in a harmonious, desperate chorus. "Ben, don't go! Ben, we love you! Ben, your dinner is getting cold." I stumble into the truck, slam the locks, and force myself to look back. They're all at the kitchen window now. Sarah and the kids, They stand in a row staring out at me with identical placid, vacant smiles. The drive to Auntie's cabin is a blur. My body operating on autopilot, my mind can no longer sustain. But by the time I park, the clock reaches 9 p.m. The headache's no longer just pain, it begins to feel like static. A soft glow came from inside her cabin. I staggered to the door, my legs unsteady. It swung inward before my fist could connect, and there, standing in the threshold, I finally saw her. The flush in her cheeks is wrong. It's too red, like old meat. Her body is too thin beneath her house dress, bones pressing against skin that's lost its elasticity. When she smiles, her lips pull back too far, showing too many teeth. Benjamin, her voice is the same warm rasp. Are you all right? I try to run. I try to get back to the truck, but she's there, hand on my shoulder, impossibly fast. Shh, child, come inside. You're seeing things, aren't you? The walkers do that. They get in your head, they make you doubt what's real. She guides me towards the door with surprising strength. But I can help. Come have tea, we'll talk. I don't want to go inside. But the headache is so bad I can barely stand. And her cabin is warm, and she's the only person who's acknowledged that any of this is happening. I followed her inside, the door closing behind me with a soft, final click. The cabin felt smaller than I remembered and darker, as if the walls had crept inward to swallow the light. I noticed the shadows in the corner didn't behave properly, stretching and pooling in defiance of the single oil lamp that burned on the counter. Without a word, Auntie guided me to her kitchen table, her hand on my arm as she directed me into a chair. She moved to the stove to put a kettle on, her motions possessing a fluid, unnerving grace that belonged to someone decades younger. You're on night 3, she says. Not a question. The middle point, that's when it gets worse. Your mind's trying to bridge 2 states of being, warm and cold, living in... She trails off, pours tea into mismatched mugs. I wrap my hands around the mug. The ceramic is cold, despite the steaming liquid inside. Why is this happening to me? My voice sounds distant. Because you looked. She sits across from me. And because you saved the girl, Nika. Yes. Something flickers across Auntie's face, almost regret. Almost. She wasn't supposed to come back, Benjamin. Some accounts were meant to close. What does that mean? She sips her tea. Would you like to hear a story? An old one. About the ocean sacrifice. Price of living too long. A nod because I don't know what else to do. Because the cabin feels like it's pressing down on me, because I can feel something in the corners waiting. Auntie's voice drops to a storyteller's cadence. There was once a woman who refused to marry. Her father tried everything, arranged matches with strong hunters, wealthy traders, even shamans, but she refused them all. She had no interest in men. The tea tastes like seawater. One winter, she fell in love with her dog. Beautiful animal, strong, loyal. They say she loved it more than any human. When her father discovered this, he was filled with shame. He took her out on his kayak far from shore, and he threw her into the ice water to drown. I want to put down the mug, but my hands won't move. She tried to climb back into the kayak, grabbed the gunwale, begged her father to pull her up. But he took his ulu, cut off her fingers, one by one. Each finger that fell into the water became something new, became seals, whales, all the creatures of the deep, and the woman herself sank down to become Sedna, the mother of the sea, keeper of drowned things. Auntie's voice had changed, become layered like multiple people speaking in unison. But here's the part they don't tell children. Sedna didn't just become a goddess, she became hungry. Every finger she lost was a piece of warmth taken from the living world, and to keep existing, to keep her place in the deep, she needed to replace that warmth again and again forever. My vision's tunneling. The cabin walls seem to breathe. We all make choices, Benjamin. Some of us choose to drown. Some of us choose to cut the fingers. Some of us... She leaned forward, and her face is changing, cheeks hollowing, further skin pulling tight against skull. Some of us choose to feed. In the window behind her, I see them. Walkers, 3 of them, standing perfectly still, watching. I try to stand, but my legs are numb. I try to speak, but my tongue is thick. Auntie reaches across the table, touches my hand with her cold hands. I'm sorry, Benjamin, but you understand, don't you? A child's life buys more than adults. More years, more warmth, but you saved her. You broke the equation, so I need yours. She's holding a curved knife with a bone handle. I try to move, and my body is leaden, and a cold understanding dawns. I know what she's put in my drink. It won't hurt. The cold comes fast at this stage. You'll just stop, and I'll have 17 more winters, maybe less. Not as young as I used to be. She laughs. That sounds like wind through empty buildings, though I suppose 7 centuries is a good run. The walkers in the window are inside now, standing behind my chair. I could feel them. I could feel them radiating cold. Auntie raises the knife, and in that suspended moment, a fractured memory crashes over me. It comes in a flash. A woman is screaming, running desperately through deep snow with a mob at her heels. Their torches cutting through the darkness as voices shout, "Witch! A demon! Unclean!" She stumbles and falls, and someone catches her, holding her down while another brings that ulu to her face. The blade cuts from cheek to jaw, and she's screaming a name over and over. In a desperate pleading mantra, Akna, Akna, Akna. I shout the name without thinking, a raw cry that tears from my throat. Akna! The effect is instant. Auntie recoils as if I've struck her, and the knife clatters to the floor. Light pours through the window, not moonlight, not aurora, something older. It illuminates Auntie in harsh relief, and I see what she truly is, the centuries of borrowed time written in the spaces between her cells, the hollow where her humanity used to be, the scar on her cheek that never healed. The walkers behind me scatter. They simply cease to exist like smoke in wind. Auntie, Akna, crouches away from the light, making sounds that aren't quite words. It's giving me a chance. I run. I burst out the door and into the suffocating snow, my truck keys already clutched in my hand as if they had materialized there. The engine roared to life on the first try, a miracle or some other form of interference. I don't know, and I don't care. It wasn't until I was a half-mile down the road, the tires crunching on the packed snow, that I dared to glance into the rearview mirror. Her cabin sat dark and silent and solitary against the vast white expanse. But in the single window I could see her, a stark silhouette standing perfectly still, watching me flee, waiting. Hey, did you like that creepypasta story that you heard today? I bet you did, because you stuck around to hear the outro. So, if you want to find more creepypasta stories like this, check out The links in the description down below lead you over to the Creepypasta collection, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Volume 1 and Volume 2 also have a bunch of stories from some of the best authors I've worked with in the past 15 years, which I think is pretty high praise, seeing as it's like, what, 4,000 stories? That's right, 4,000 stories. Subscribe, you'll see them. But yes, 2 books available, Amazon, link down below, check them out. Also, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody on this list of Patreons. Some of these amazing folks are Diana Kraus, AcidSystem, Blake Rattler, Brandon Mendoza, Brenna Caltuna, ChicagoHitman, CoryxKenshin, CrusaderChocobo, Dakota Best, Daniel Poulsen, Dante Kinkade, Enchanted Buns, Estebean, Hades' Nephew, Himbo Jerry, Our Minute Second Time, Ingegerd Solstrom, Jay Kearns, Jadis Pet, McMog, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Psychomel, Plant Piz, Red Shadow Cat, Remember the Sun, Salty Surprise, Samara Lynn, Seclude, Simba's Bloody Mojo, Sky Harbor, Smiley the Psychotic, Sully Man, Tolly Sue, Team Leo 76, The Demented Voice in Your Head, The Chavez Brothers, The Ginger Bros, Tommy Walters, Viceroy Scorn, William Wellington, Your Bro Keegan, Zabub, and Shadow Gardens. A huge thank you to you guys, everybody who shows up in the description down below, and as always, folks, sweet dreams.